Welcome, everyone, to Young at Heart, session number 181D, as in Deluzio. And we're just continuing in brief, short segments the wonderful, beautifully written Thanksgiving Day Visitor by Truman Capote. I wish he would have written a lot more like this, and not that in cold blood, which I don't dare to read, and why he wanted to get into the minds of criminals when he was already so astute to the beauty, the comedy of everyday people. Oh well, different strokes for different folks. Let's continue. We left the young boy hiding in the bathroom because Odd Henderson is now in his house for Thanksgiving dinner. Still in the bathroom. There were two small stained glass windows in the closet. Lozenge-like, say that 3 times, lozenge-like. You popped a lozenge in your mouth lately? There were two small stained glass windows in the closet. Lozenge-like patterns of rose, amber, and green light filtered through the windows, which looked on the bathroom proper. Here and there, patches of color had faded from the glass, or been chipped away. By applying an eye to one of these clearings, it was possible to identify the room's visitors. After I'd been secluded there a while, brooding over my enemy's success, footsteps intruded. Mrs. Mary Taylor Wheelwright, who stopped before a mirror, smacked her face with a powder puff, rouged her antique cheeks, and then, perusing the effect, announced, "Very nice, Mary, even if Mary says so herself." That's all in quotes. It is well known that women outlive men. Could it merely be superior vanity that keeps them going? Anyway, Mrs. Wheelwright sweetened my mood, so when, following her departure, I heartily rung dinner bell. Oh, I didn't ring it. Maybe I'm doing too many short segments in one day, but I will persevere. Mrs. Wheelwright sweetened my mood, so when, following her departure, a heartily rung dinner bell sounded through the house, I decided to quit my refuge and enjoy the feast, regardless of Odd Henderson. But just then, footsteps echoed again. He appeared, looking less sullen than I had seen him, strutty, whistling, unbuttoning his trousers and letting go with a forceful splash. He whistled along, jaunty as a jaybird in a field of sunflowers. As he was leaving, an open box on the bureau summoned my attention. It was a cigar box in which my friend kept recipes torn out of newspapers and other junk, as well as a cameo brooch her father had long ago given her. Sentimental value aside, her imagination had conferred upon the object a rare costliness whenever we had cause for serious grievance against her sisters, or Uncle B. She would say, "Never mind, buddy. We'll sell my cameo and go away. We'll take the bus to New Orleans." Though never discussing what would we do once we arrived in New Orleans, or what we would live on after the cameo money ran out, we both relished this fantasy. Perhaps each of us secretly realized the Brooch was only a Sears Roebuck novelty. All the same, it seemed to us a talisman of true though untested magic, a charm that promised us our freedom if indeed we did decide to pursue our luck in fabled spheres. So my friend never wore it, for it was too much a treasure to risk its loss or damage. Now, I saw Odd's sacrilegious fingers reach toward it, watched him bounce it in the palm of his hand, drop it back in the box, and turn to go, then return. This time he swiftly retrieved the cameo and sneaked it into his pocket. So do you see, he's in the bathroom closet now, and he's been observing people coming in to the bathroom. That may have been a little bit confusing. So now you know. My boiling first instinct was to rush out of the closet and challenge him. At the moment, I believe, I could have pinned Odd to the floor, but, well, do you recall how in simpler days funny paper artists used to illustrate the birth of an idea by sketching an incandescent light bulb above the brow of Mutt or Jeff or whomever? That's how it was with me. A sizzling light bulb suddenly radiated my brain. The shock and brilliance of it made me burn and shiver. Laugh, too. Odd had handed me an ideal instrument for revenge, one that would make up for all the cockleburs. In the dining room, long tables had been joined to shape a T. Uncle B was at the upper center, Mrs. Mary Taylor Wheelwright at his right, and Mrs. Conklin at his left. Odd was seated between two of the Conklin sisters, one of them Annabel, whose compliments kept him in top condition. My friend had put herself at the foot of the table amongst the youngest children. According to her, she had chosen the position because it provided quicker access to the kitchen. But of course, it was because that was where she wished to be. Queenie, who had somehow got loose, was under the table, trembling and wagging with ecstasy as she skittered between the rows of legs. But nobody seemed to object, probably because they were hypnotized by the uncarved, lusciously glazed turkeys and the excellent aromas rising from the dishes of okra and corn, onion fritters, and hot mince pies. My own mouth would have watered if it hadn't gone bone dry at the heart-pounding prospect of total revenge. For a second, glancing at Odd Henderson's suffused face, I experienced a fragmentary regret, but I really had no qualms. Uncle B recited grace, head bowed, eyes shut, calloused hands prayerfully placed, he intoned, "Bless you, O Lord, for the bounty of our table, the varied fruits we can be thankful for on this Thanksgiving Day of a troubled year." His voice, so infrequently heard, croaked with the hollow imperfections of an old organ in an abandoned church. Amen. Then, as chairs were adjusted and napkins rustled, the necessary pause I'd been listening for arrived. "Someone here is a thief." I spoke clearly and repeated the accusation in even more measured tones. "Odd Henderson is a thief. He stole Miss Sook's cameo." Napkins gleamed in suspense, immobilized hands. Men coughed. The Conklin sisters gasped in quadruplet unison, and little Perk McLeod Jr. began to hiccup, as very young children will when startled. My friend, in a voice teetering between reproach and anguish, said, "But he doesn't mean that. He's only teasing." "I do mean it. If you don't believe me, go look in your box. The cameo isn't there. Odd Henderson has it in his pocket." "But he has had a bad croup," she murmured. "Don't blame him, Odd. He hasn't a notion what he's saying." I said, "Go look in your box. I saw him take it." Uncle B, staring at me with an alarming wintriness, took charge. "Maybe you better," he told Miss Sook. "That should settle the matter." And I shall settle with keeping you in suspense and awaiting Young at Heart 181, E as in Edward. God bless.